So good morning or good night, depending on where you are. And welcome to another anniversary album review of The Shield Doing a Couch. I'm your host, Hector, and as you can see, I'm not alone. I'm joined by Eguie Fernandez. And for those of you that don't know Eguie, he's a singer from the Puerto Rico rock scene, and he has his own band, titled-26, but he also has a Pearl Jam cover, and he also does like other type of covers. And we're gonna talk about an album that turns 26 this April 8th, and it's for the Third Eye Blind self-titled album that I have right next to me. And Eguie and I both love this album, so I decided, yeah, let's have Eguie again. He has been in the channel a few times, but in a long time. So first of all, Eguie, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm excited about talking about this great album.
Yeah. So yeah, usually what we do in this album anniversary reviews is that first of all we talk about what we were doing when this album first came out. Uh, then we go in and we discuss like our favorite tracks, which is gonna be hard because this is an album that has a lot of great tracks. So usually we do three, but we can do four for this because this album has a lot of great tracks. And finally, we give our final thoughts of what we think of the album 26 years later, and we decide, has it held up, yes or no? And this is what we do in this video. So since obviously you're my guest, Eguie, I'm going to have you start. So when were you in 1997 when this album
Wow.
dropped?
I was like in, I think, ninth grade, almost 10th grade. Almost like, I think like like going into ninth to 10th grade. Like it was something like that. And for some reason, I listened to this album like a year later, I guess. Like when I finally when I finally gave the attention that it supposed to that I was supposed to give to that album, it was like a year later. But when I first heard it, it was like, man, because at the time that the album came out, I wasn't like too much into the alternative stuff. I was like a little bit skeptical at first. Right now, I'm more into alternative that I used to when I was like at that age. But once like I started to listen to the album that I heard the first song that I love so much, the thing a whole year. That the song is so great, man.
And you lost a year of not listening to this album.
Yeah, yeah, it's like something that is, I don't know how to explain it, man. But when I first listened to that track, I almost fell in love with it. I fell in love with the sound. I fell in love with the message behind the lyrics. Um, Man, I think that I had the song on almost every playlist that I do today. Almost every playlist that I do that has alternative stuff, I have that song on that playlist. And also the singles, the Semi Charm Live, Jumper is also a great track. Graduate, um, what's it gonna be? Is another track that.
There's just so many tracks. So you didn't listen to it like until a year later that it came out,
Yeah,
but obviously it grabbed you.
yeah, because it was like, how do I explain this? When I got into 11th grade, 12th grade, that's when I started to really listen to a lot of alternative music. And I had some friends that showed me this album, and that was when I discovered them. And when I discovered, I think I discovered gold.
Yeah, it's always awesome when you discover music. So for me, I did listen to this album when it came out in 1997. I remember watching MTV and watching the video for Semi Charm Kind of Life. And I thought this is such a catchy song. And when I knew what it's about, I'm like, this is a song about doing crystal meth. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's the happiest song about drugs I have ever heard in my life. Like, I remember Stephen Jenkins, the singer, he, on an interview, he said that he never thought that song was going to be a hit because he was talking about smoking crystal meth. But
Yeah.
it was so catchy.
It
And
was
the
very catchy.
that song was included in movies, in I think in a
In
few
theory,
movies,
yeah,
in
series.
movies, series. It was huge for them, and it really broke the band. But when I first heard that song, a lot of people would think the whole album is that peppy and upbeat, and no, the whole album is different. Only that's the only song that's really like really, really, really like super, super happy, go lucky.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time there was a debate like Third Eye Blind versus Matchbox 20, and I like both bands, but I'm telling you, I don't think Matchbox 20 ever did an album completely as good as this album right here.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, this is an album that all the songs are good. And yeah, when I was in college when this came out, and listening to this album takes me back to 1997, and I think of this girl that I was dating because we both loved that album. And usually when she lived in Carolina, and when I went to pick her up, we listened to this album like almost every time that we hung out to go to a date or something. This was one of the albums that we were playing at the time, and we both loved it. So it's an album that after after I broke up with her, it was like, no, it reminds me too much of her because I used to listen to this album with that person for the longest time. But yeah, it's an album that I obviously love because I bought on vinyl, and it's I really enjoyed it when it came out a lot. Like besides that, I enjoyed the lyrics, I enjoyed the vibe of the album, but more about that on the second round, if you will. So now we're going to talk about the our four favorite tracks out of the album. We got to pick four. There's 14 songs, so it's kind of hard
Yeah,
to pick
it's
four.
hard.
So Eguie, what are your four favorite songs and why?
Okay, so yeah, obviously the singles, Semi-Charmed Life. I think that song, like you said, it's a happy song, but the meaning behind it, and it's a great way to make a song about meth, you know. And also Jumper is a great song, man, and it hits emotionally, it hits me. It's about depression, you know, and it's about a song about getting out of depression and all that struggle, you know, and it hits me as well. um Another that I like is Graduate it's cool. It's a cool song as well.
Did
But
you
I think
graduate, Eguie?
yeah, I graduated. But my favorite that I'm gonna keep on saying like forever. It's listening a whole year, man. That song, like, I even want to sing it one day. I really want to sing it. I want to play it someday.
You
It's
should.
one of my favorite. Yeah, I really like the song, man. So
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to pick in because this album had a lot of singles. Uh,
mhm.
and Jumper is, an anti-suicide song. And I don't know if you
Mhm.
remember, it was featured on the Yes Man movie. There's a
Ah,
part where
yeah,
Jim
yeah.
Carrey plays that song on guitar so the Luis Guzman character doesn't jump.
Mhm.
And I'm like, wow, the power of and everyone's singing like, wish you would step up from that ledge, my friend.
My friend. Yeah.
Something that was, yeah, something that was great about this album is how they tackled such like different subject matter, but they
Serious
did it
issue.
in a way that was catchy
Mhm.
and not corny, because sometimes
Exactly.
like when you're like, because this is Third Eye Blind is essentially a pop rock album and a pop rock band. You know, it's pop.
It, it's a I think it's a pop rock band, but with a lot of alternative influences. Like
that
you
is
said
true.
before, like you can compare it like with Matchbox 20s, like as you said before, but they were more harder than Matchbox 20, and they have a little bit also like sometimes they remind me a little bit of Google Dolls as well. They have
Yeah, those
something
bands
there.
came out all about in that time. So for me, I'm gonna pick some different songs
Okay.
because this album has a lot of like deep cuts. For example, the second song, Narcolepsy. I
Oh
just
yeah,
love that
they're good.
song, like how, especially the chorus, like he's like how you like to be alone and drowning. Like it's just great how the way the melodies work, and obviously, like narcolepsy is a it's a disease that you fall asleep like so easily.
Everywhere.
So and it's a very catchy and more rocking tune. That one, I think the guitars there are a little bit more crunchy. Uh, so I think it's a really good deep cut. I really love how it's going to be. I think I love that one that much because since that's just like a classic breakup song. Like you break up and it's like, how's it gonna be when you don't know me anymore? So I remember like breaking up with that girlfriend back in 1997, and in 1998 I would have sang that in a karaoke. I'm like, how's it gonna be? And it's just a great song. I don't know if you remember the music video. The music video for that song, the band like crashes like a building where supposedly the girlfriend of the lead singer sings, and they sing that song, and she's like lurking in the background, and it's just a great video. Like when I thought it now, I said, oh yes, that's romantic. Now I'm thinking like that's a restraining order right there. But yeah, it's a great song that I think anyone can relate to because
Yeah.
everyone has broken up with someone, and that's exactly what happens when you break up. Like you don't know that person anymore,
Yeah.
and
And
and sometimes I think everyone asks us questions like, "How's it gonna be? Like,
how's it
will
gonna
you
be?
see
Yeah.
me? Like, will you think about me ever again?" So I think it's aged really well. Even 26 years later, it's a great breakup song. So obviously, Semi Sharon Kind of Life is a great track, but like going in other like tracks that I think are really great and are different is the track. Oh my god, like "Good for You." That's another track that I love. Like is it good for you? And it's another song about like a relationship gone wrong and thinking about everything like, am I good for you? Are you good for me? So that type of dilemma. So I think that's another deep cut that's great. But my favorite song out of that album, and it's a song that I listen to it right now and I get the feels, is the song The Background. So The Background basically is a song about Stephen Jenkins, the singer. He's talking about this girl that they used to date and they break up. And it's implied that she had mental issues or some sort of mental issues because there's a lyric in the song that they say like, where's that crazy girl? You don't get drunk on wine and fight no more. So it implies like there were some mental issues with this girlfriend. And the song, it's all about he broke up with her and time has passed, but she's still lurking in the background because he still has plans with her that he still wants to make. So it's a song that I think anyone can relate because, like, who hasn't had someone that you broke up and years can happen and sometimes they're still there in the back of your mind, like, or like you can be doing something and remembering like, oh my god, I used to do that with that person, or the goddamn Facebook memories show you a memory. I'm like, oh, I remember what I was doing that day, who I was with. So yeah, it's that type of song that even though you're not physically yet still with that person, and the relationship has been ended, even it can be years, like they're still somewhere out there in the background, like you still think of them. And I think it's just a great fucking song.
Yeah, it's a time travel song. I call those time travel songs. There are some songs that made you time travel.
Yeah,
It is
and that's the
weird.
type of song that if you're listening to it and someone would talk and interrupt you, I'm like, I have to rewind because I have to feel the pain again.
Yeah.
I'm like, it didn't hurt me as much because you spoke. So yeah, it's a great track that hits you in the feels. Even more like back in the day, I thought how's it gonna be, but I think in the background it's much more potent. And I just love how the song ends and it has like that guitar like tang tang tang, and it's like fading, and it's fading like. I think what they did that with the guitars, and you being a musician, is like it's fading, like it's like the ghost of that girlfriend, like stepping back, and how the song fades. So I just think it's a perfect fucking song, and I just love it. So those are the 4 tracks that I picked out of this album. So now we talk about our final thoughts and how this has held up 26 years later. So Eguie, what are your final thoughts on this album?
Okay, first, I had to rewind a little bit because I remember some fun facts about this album. And one of them is that, do you remember this place that you order CDs like at, it was like 99 cents.
Columbia
It was
House?
Columbia House. I
Mm.
bought that album in Columbia House, man. I
Did you
remember
pay
that.
the 5 cents?
I don't remember. I think I didn't pay that.
I
But
remember that the Columbia House where you
yeah.
get and you get the pictures, and I used to buy shirts too. They would put like rock shirts that way because this was okay, kids who are watching this. This was before Hot Topic. There was not a Hot Topic. I don't know when Hot Topic opened, but I don't think it was the 90s. I think it was the 2000s.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think.
but yeah, yeah, I remember the Columbia House. So you bought that album there.
Yeah, I saw the album, and initially I ordered it because I think the cover art is awesome, man, and you see, the red is one of my, I think red is my favorite color, and I was drawn into it, and when I saw it, that's why when I first like knew about the band, and that's what made me like listen to it. So
Yeah. Someone told me today that this art is creepy. And
it's kind of creepy.
it kind of is a little bit, but but I told that person, but the music really is more pop alternative rock, this because maybe you see the cover like, oh, like, but yeah, this is a so my final thoughts on this, obviously I bought the album on vinyl, so that means I fucking love it. This is one of those albums that every time I hear it, I go back in time. I go back to 1997. It also reminds me of some ex-girlfriends, plural. There's songs here that remind me of some people, especially the background recently reminds me of someone. And yeah, but it's aged really well.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they never topped this album. I remember I bought the Blue album, and it had some good tracks like Deep Inside of You and some other ones, but nothing like this album. This album to me is flawless. Every song is great. Even the other songs like Motorcycle Drive by God of Wine, London, Burning Man, it's just thanks a lot. Every track, like this is one of those albums that every song could have been a single if they wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. I think there are 2 albums of the 90s that I think that they are like underappreciated in a way. and one of them is the Throwing Copper from Live.
I love that album.
Yeah, that album is great, man. I that album
we
is awesome.
we should do a video for that album when it has an
Yeah,
anniversary, and because it's another great album. Yeah.
yeah, and this one as well. This first album of Third Eye Blind is I think one of the most underappreciated albums of the 90s. I think it holds up very well. I think it still sounds very crisp and it sounds great. You can listen like you can even compare it with a modern guitar sound, and the guitars in this album like still sounds like great, man. And I think that's another like great album that people almost like sometimes forget about. I know that if they listen to Semi Sharon live and Jumper, etc., I know that they're gonna know who's the band, or maybe know the song, you know. But the whole album, the whole concept, I think they are great, man, and it's sad that sometimes like in the times that we're living in, we don't hear like more albums like those, you know.
Yeah, there's not pop rock like
Mm-hmm.
this. I'm telling you
Mm-hmm.
this because now pop rock is like so shallow. Like Imagine Dragons. I will say it here. Imagine Dragons sucks balls. Like they are a terrible band, and they don't like this is pop rock, but this is amazing pop rock. Great written songs, great lyrics. It hits you in the fucking feels. Like
Yeah.
26 years later, man, these songs still make me want to cry.
Yeah.
So that's the power of music when it's
Mhm.
that good that it transports you. And I just like you, I think this is a very underappreciated album that
Mhm.
maybe people will just mention, oh yes, Initial Kind of Life and Jumper, but no, there's so much more good stuff in this album that if
Yeah.
you never listen to the album as a whole, I urge you to go do it because there's some great tracks in here, and I can't state it enough. Like I think I can fairly say in my final thoughts that this is an essential album of the 90s
Yeah. I agree.
to own. Like
Mhm.
I still listen to this and I still don't get bored.
Mhm.
The songs still sound as fresh as they did when I listened to this back in 1997.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that it still holds up, and man, it's great. I also remember that Stephen Jenkins, he 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 was in the on the Rockstar movie, right? With Mark
He was in
Wahlberg.
the Rockstar movie.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was weird seeing him
And another fun fact, he was dating after this album, he was dating Charlize Theron.
oh, Charlize Theron, good for him.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the guy suffered. But yeah, but sadly, after this Third Eye Blind, the other albums never quite captured the magic that this album captured. There's a few singles of the other albums that I
Yeah,
enjoy, but nothing like this album as a whole.
I
And
think the Never Let You Go, it was a good song from the
yeah, that
Blue
was in
album.
the Blue album that came
Yeah.
out afterward, but I don't know what happened. I think the band lost momentum because what happened
Mhm.
is the band that is in the second album is not the same. A lot of
Mhm.
members, original members, left this album. So when Stephen Jenkins recorded the second album, he had some different members. So I think the magic was with this lineup, and
Yeah.
this is the sometimes sometimes there's bands that it takes them a few albums to hit that peak, and so there's albums like for example Pearl Jam 10 and this one that right off the get go
Mhm.
it's like it goes straight up. It's just
Yeah.
an amazing record. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are our final thoughts. I think both Eguie and me can say that yeah, we love this album and it has aged really fucking well.
Yeah, it has.
Yeah,
It
so
has aged really, really well.
yeah, so we want to know from you guys. Comment. What are your memories of listening to Third Eye Blind's solid debut album, self-titled? Comment. What are your favorite tracks? And if you like the videos that I'm putting out, do not forget to subscribe and do not forget to give me a like. And also, if you like alternative rock music, check out Eguie's band too, Tunnel 19 with just one N. And also, if you're in Puerto Rico, he does a lot of like cover bands and stuff. So if you want to go listen to some live music, Eguie can do it. So Eguie, I want to thank you for taking time to go back with me to 1997.
Yeah, we should do this more often.
We
We
should do
should.
it. We should do it for the live album because that's another
Yeah,
essential
I,
album. So
I got the album
people,
there.
I wanna people leave comment in the in leave some comments on the here of what albums from the 90s that you would like us to cover. And maybe one day we should do a video, Eguie and Señorita Sabrosura for a band. So
Yeah,
that would be
that would be
cool.
cool.
So yeah. So until next time, people, this is Hector, the Shield doing a couch, and I'll see you right here on the couch. And this April 8th, everyone, listen to Third Eye Blind album loud. Thank you and good night.